Today, we discuss Miro. Listen, when it comes to running client workshops, the dream, of course, is to get those creative juices flowing, right? But typically what ends up happening is thousands of hours get wasted because of poorly facilitated meetings. So I have Maya with me today. She's a consultant who runs Fortune 100 workshops, from leadership training to team building, and she has the insider tip on what makes things work. Maya?
Thank you, Jason. I've been doing this a long time. My number one tip is to bring everyone into that visual collaboration platform. So personally, I use Miro, and it's completely changed how I interact with the room. You have to give people a way to feel like they're in the room even when they're not. That's something you can do easily in Miro. Otherwise, they've seen the same slides and format 1,000 times.
Falling asleep, eyes glazing over, yawns, all that.
Exactly. When people follow me on the Miro board, everyone is literally going on a journey with me. We're adding thoughts, we're reacting, and we're voting for the best ideas. It's great.
Connective magic. I like it. That's MIRO.com.
Edit audio.
Sometime in my late 20s, I did yet another self-help course, and I came out all lit up with possibility. I started calling all my family. I'm talking about the changes they can make in their lives for happiness. I mean, you can just imagine how psyched everyone was to get my calls. Oh, Jesus, it's Robin again. So by the time I get to my dad, I had been thinking about how he was always talking about how he didn't want to be in sales anymore and how he wasn't happy with what he was doing for his life. And so I launched into this diatribe about how he could go back to school. He could get a new career. He could be anything he wanted to be. And there was this pause on the phone, like a very long and uncomfortable pause. And he said, Robin, I'm 73 years old. I can't go back to college. So no, I resisted the urge to bring up Rodney Dangerfield, and I just said something about how he was missing my point. It's about every day is a new day to change. Needless to say, my dad stayed in sales, and I learned to only give advice when asked, and I can generally do this. Who am I kidding? I can't help myself. But that's not the point. The point is that I stand by the idea that every day is a new day to decide who you want to be and how you're going to show up in this world. And some days I can do that and others, not so much. But I do know that if I fail, there's a new day a-coming. Hello, folks. I'm Robin Hopkins, and this is Well Adjusting, where I talk to people about life stuff, but, not in an NPR way, more like we're at the bar, and we're having cocktails, and I am getting into your business sort of way.
Oh, we love a cocktail.
Oh, and producer Steph is here, too.
Oh, yeah. Hi, that's me.
Today we chat, credit card roulette. Ooh, I am so excited about today's episode. Today, we are joined by one of my very bestest friends. She's like my sister. Her name is Aileen, but sometimes I call her Bean, just for clarity's sake, so you know. And recently, Aileen came to me about her finances, and she was essentially talking about how she was over 50 and she was still in motherfucking debt, and she'd had it. And she asked me for help. And I was so excited for her to be in that place of being like, I don't care what my age is, I can learn a new way of being. And after we started working together on her finances, I was like, oh, you've got to be on my new podcast. And today she is bravely sharing with you all of her money stuff. So let's get to it. It is, I hate to be all dorky and say finances are so exciting, but they are. Let's get into this.
I've never had a budget my entire life. My husband's like, you spend whatever you want, you deserve it. But I'm just tired of always being behind with everything, like always being in financial debt. And some really big financial things came up last year, which put me in a position where I was really forced to make a big change with the way I spend and the way I save or don't save. And, I've watched Robin for years, buy apartments and, go on big trips and do all kinds of stuff that, I'm like, man, she's good at this. And also always has, you ask a financial question, she comes back with some really smart answer. And I'm like, oh, okay.
What's funny is when you reached out, you texted me and you said something like, can we hop on the phone for a few minutes to talk about a budget? And I was like, oh, yeah. I'm thinking this is a 3-minute conversation. And I'm like, I'm going to just send you this spreadsheet that I have because, it's not unheard of for people to ask me for my spreadsheets. You know what I'm saying? So I sent you over the spreadsheet and we got on the phone and we started to talk. And I really quickly realized that you didn't want my spreadsheet, which, fine. Okay. But you were ready for this much bigger conversation about, I want to make a change with the way that I relate to money.
Yeah.
And so we started talking. So let's get into a little bit about where were you in this moment?
We had just decided we were going to secure a house at the Jersey Shore, which was $4,000. Before that, we knew we had to go to a wedding in Nashville with our entire family. So the 5 of us in April.
Which 5 airline tickets, ouch.
And then right after that, we found out that another one of our nephews was getting married in August in Canada, in Vancouver. And I just got really overwhelmed trying to think of how I was going to do everything because, of course, we're not going to, deprive ourselves of something and not go on this trip, right? That's I think part of our generation is oh, you don't say no to anything. You just put it on a credit card and you figure it out later. So all that just really threw me off. Just I actually can't remember a time when I was like that. My heart was almost pounding. How am I going to do this? And every single day I'd wake up with it. I'm I have to figure this out. I have to figure this out. I was frustrated, that I was mad that I had to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to have some normal finances. I was coming up on about to pay off my car. We were in a good spot, not terrible. And I'm well, this is going to take me a year to recover from. And I was mad about it.
Well, and one of the things we talked about that I think is really interesting is the concept or the idea of paying for something before you do it. And it just blew your mind because you were no, we're just going to charge it and then I'm going to deal with it later. And I was I really want you to address that. And I think within a half hour of talking, I was what we need to do is change your whole thinking about the way you relate to money.
Can I just ask, are you comfortable saying how much debt you were in and when you started chatting to Robin?
Well, at the time, I think I had just purchased my tickets for Nashville. So I think we probably had about $5,000 of credit card debt that we could have paid off, but I don't think I had really intended on paying that off right away because we had this other debt. So Robin helped me to consolidate it. So that was probably only about, I think it was about $12,000, $12,000 or $13,000.
Plus the 3 trips that you needed to plan for. And at that moment, you were I'm going to have to put those on cards.
Well, yeah. And we have heavy expenses. We have a heavy mortgage. We have, it was just, that put us way over the edge because I had been, even though I was living paycheck to paycheck, I wasn't saving anything. So I'm okay, we're managing. This isn't awful. We're not carrying big, heavy debt. But then when that happened, it was just the rug got pulled out from under me. I was okay, this is bigger than me right now. In the past, what we've done when that's happened, Robin, is we would just take money out of our investments just to pay down the credit card debt.
My anxiety levels. Yeah.
No, that's how we managed for years and years and years. And so that's been a big lesson from just changing our habits this year. And we have not done that since last year, which is,
it's incredible.
It feels really good.
And I think we started talking 9 months ago.
That alone is a huge win.
Right?
Yeah, it took you and I a few phone calls before I could even get past the shame of the way we spend money.
Yeah.
I just was in such a shameful place. Other people figured this out by now. I'm 52 years old and I'm still putting trips on credit cards and having to pay them off over a whole year. That just really, I just felt like a failure, to be honest.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think you felt like a failure?
Because my husband and I make a lot of money.
Because we shouldn't be in this position.
Yeah.
We should know better.
Yeah, and we've made other financial mistakes that have put us in the spot we're in now, too. It's kind of assumed that in every couple, you have one person that's better at the finances than the other, and I don't think either one of us have that. I pay bills. That doesn't mean I'm good at, budgeting or planning our
That
finances.
is true. Usually there's one person that's good at like one thing, like, but that's interesting that neither of you are good at it. Especially you were like a business major in college. Like I had like 17 majors, but you were a business major for God's sakes. Taking accounting and shit.
Financial accounting I did drop out of that class. That one was not good.
I'm like already shaming you. When you're just talking about feeling shame and I'm shaming you about your business major. I should tell our audience that we've known each other for so long, and so I can shame you with love.
Shame it up.
Well, I remember we had a lot of talks about, I was like, you could shame yourself all day long, but the elephant is still sitting in the middle of this bedroom. It's like you can feel the shame, and then you can, like, I call it the fuck you slide. Like you're like, fuck this shit. This sucks. And so I get my credit card out and I slide it and I buy stuff I shouldn't buy because you feel ashamed. So I'm like, you got to get out from under the shame in order to just even deal with the budget. Like, I don't think we even got to a budget till the second or third call.
If you really want to, the real major problem, if you remember from the beginning, was having 6 or 7 credit cards and playing Russian roulette with that.
I nearly threw up when you told me how you were operating your finances. Can you explain to people like what you would do?
Yeah, well, I'm sure a lot of other people do this too, but like knowing when your statement cuts off and when you can kind of start spending again, and then we're stuck, the card just broke down and we have to pay $400. Well, which card are we going to put that on? Let me put on this one because we don't have anything on it and the statement won't come until this date. It's like you're stacking up your debt ahead.
And did you have, before this moment, because you're saying you're having anxiety about these 3 trips, but did you have anxiety about when the bills are coming in? And I remember you saying you would switch the dates of when the payments were due to sometimes buy yourself more time. Like, did that give you anxiety, or were you just on autopilot? Like, this is my system. This is what I do.
Yeah. I mean, you just figure it out. I mean, I would say there was a time maybe like 5 years ago where, I got a lot better at not carrying a balance, but it was on 4 or 5 different credit cards. So it's like I paid everything off every month, but I was still putting stuff on different credit cards to manage what was coming in. Or, if I felt like we were in a good place, it's like, oh, well, let's go away for the weekend and we'll just put it on that credit card.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there was no savings. It's paycheck to paycheck to paycheck always. And then if we can't figure it out with the paycheck, it goes on the credit card that we're going to pay off later.
And it's just, I'll deal with it later. I'm just not going to deal with it right now.
Yeah.
I feel like a couple of times you refinanced your mortgage and took more cash out. That killed me too. I wish we had that conversation back then, because I would have like smacked you around a little bit. But you weren't ready for it.
No, even my financial advisor told us not to do it. He's like, don't do it.
You have a financial advisor other than Robin?
Well, we did, but we got rid of him, which was also a really bad decision, because he was the one that actually helped us save for our house before we had kids. He was incredible.
This is why I go back to, it's an underlying issue. You have done the right things. You've put yourself in the right place with advisors. You make good money. Like there's something underneath this that you have to continue to explore about why you're comfortable being in this position. And I think that's really hard for people to get their head around,
right? That
you would actively, on some level, subconsciously, would choose to do something that's harmful to ourselves. But we do it all the time. That's the real work. That's the real work. It's not budgeting. All right, people, raise your hand if you have ever been personally exhausted by email, right? Same, friend, same. We're all so constantly inundated with email. And if you're like me, going through your inbox becomes less about responding to everything and more about just finding a way to keep tabs on the messages that really matter, like the ones from the school telling me my kids are in trouble that I get all the time. Anyway, that's where SaneBox comes in. Think of it as an EMT for your email. As messages flow in, SaneBox does the triage for you, sifting only the important emails in your inbox and directing all the other distracting stuff, you know what I'm talking about, into your Sane Later folder. So you know what messages you need to pay attention to now and what stuff you can get to, like eventually after maybe a nap or, I don't know, a cocktail. It also, and I know I'm waxing poetically, but it has some very handy features like the Sane Black Hole, where you can drag messages from annoying senders that you never want to hear from again. Bye, friend. Oh, and it also has Sane reminders to ping you if someone hasn't replied to your email by a certain date. I mean, nothing like having to follow up on your follow-up, am I right? All right, best of all, you can use SaneBox with any email client or phone anywhere you check your email. I mean, come on. See how SaneBox can magically remove distractions from your inbox with a free 2-week trial. That's a deal. Visit sanebox.com/well today to start your trial, and you're going to get a $25 credit. That's sanebox.com/WELL. Go ahead, folks, get it. Out of curiosity, what's your family history with money? What kind of lessons did you get about money growing up? Are you operating the same way as your parents or different?
I knew you were going to ask me that question. I'm like, how am I going to answer that? And it's funny because the two of them are opposite. You know, my parents divorced when I was very young, but my dad always had his own business, always had a wad of $100 bills or 20s, like a big wad of cash in his wallet. Oh, you came home from college. He's like, you're leaving. He's giving you $40 for gas. You know, he was just always doling out the cash, that kind of stuff. If I ever got into trouble, I would just call my dad and be like, Dad, I can't pay the utility bill in college. And he'd be like, okay, I'll send you a check, you know. My mother was the opposite. She, you know, comes from a big Irish family who they never had any money. And she like holds on to her money. She hates waste. She's going to wrap up the end of the bread at the restaurant, and then she brings it home and wraps it in saran wrap and puts it in the freezer. And she's going to pull that sucker out in about 4 days and eat it with butter, and that'll be her breakfast. And she's like a saver, you know, like there was no money to be had with my mom. You had to get it yourself.
I wonder, it sounds like you might be like a mix of the two of them, but maybe the bad things of both of them.
I blame my husband. No, I'm kidding.
It's fun to blame Jeff.
He's so funny. He's just always like I'll be complaining like, honey, look at this. We just got this bill again, and we were just about to, you know, be in a good place, and I just bought that whatever. He's like, who cares? You deserve that. You should have that. You can have whatever you want. If I ever given you a hard time about money, I'm like, no, you haven't, but maybe you should.
Maybe you should actually be looking at the finances. So he never worries. He's never like, oh, hey, babe, we got 6 credit cards and we got 20 grand worth of credit card debt.
He has no idea.
Oh, so you don't tell him, or he doesn't ask, or it's just like a don't ask, don't tell?
No, he just has no interest. I'll show it to him, and he's like, oh, yeah, let me go do some overtime. You know, like he doesn't care about the details. That his response, his answer to any time I complain about money is, I'll go do more overtime.
Like, I'll fix it.
Yeah. And it does. Lots of times that does fix it, for sure.
Well, it certainly helps.
But that puts a lot of pressure on him.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that way, you know. But I mean, the other part of it is it's not just my spending. It's having 3 kids, 2 in college. You know, I'm still paying for all their car insurance. I'm paying for their phones. I pay for half my son's rent.
Well, you know, I got something to say about that.
Right
I'm like,
now.
you got to start setting some boundaries. You got to make them pay for some shit.
I know. Because with my oldest, he has a job. He's just got promoted. He's got, you know, good money for his age. But he's still not paying his car insurance, his cell phone. He does make his car payment himself because he bought a new car.
Just take one of those payments. Like, what if you gave him back his car insurance? A couple $100 a month, $100 a month. That's $100 you could then put towards your debt.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you free that up, you put it towards something. You have to start to think about, like, putting the oxygen mask on yourself before you save your kid.
I know.
But one step at a time. We're asking you to cut a lot of things at once. And that I'm always wary of that because I think sometimes if we go too far, you're going to backslide, you're going to react, and you're going to end up right back where you were.
People have told me that this is the most expensive time of your life. I don't know if that's true, but when your kids are in college, it's It's just everything. And now with gas, it's like, Mom, do you have $10 for gas? I'm
You're like, maybe?
no, I don't actually.
Maybe not. You're like, let me get out my credit cards. Let's see. This one has 150 on it.
Use this one.
Wait, no, not that one. This one.
Wait, let me check the closing date.
So I think that what we have established is this is a horrible way to live.
Yes, it is.
Like, I have so much anxiety. And again, like I really think you can't get to the budget stage and the actual things to do until you address why you're doing what you're doing. And so we spend a lot of time just talking about your relationship to money, because I truly think like it's almost like if you, I always make a lot of analogies to weight because I am a person who struggled with my weight. But if you go to Jenny Craig, right? And Jenny Craig's great because they give you the food. If you eat the Jenny Craig and then you only eat the Jenny Craig, you will lose weight because they are giving you the calories. It's like a budget and you will lose weight. But if you don't address why you were eating in the first place, whether it's a small thing, like you just love ice cream and you're going through menopause and your metabolism slowed down, or a big thing like you have addiction in your family like I do and I'm eating over my feelings. If you don't address that, the second you stop ordering Jenny Craig, you're going to put all that weight back on. And I feel the same way about money. So we spent a lot of time talking about why you're doing what you're doing before we even got to budgeting.
Yeah. I think what's been hard for me in the process is I want the big win.
What's a big win for you? What does that mean?
A big win would be like $5,000 in the bank.
So out of debt and you have a solid savings.
Yeah. Like that would be a big win. But I think like I'm so focused on the big win that everything else feels like a loss. But what you were teaching me, which is still hard for me, is, when you were kind of like patting me on the back for some things I had done and I wasn't seeing them the way that you saw those.
Well, because you've made great strides. You really have. I mean, we have to talk a little bit about like the sort of system, because I think this talk is less about the financial system, but we should say it, which is that you take your smallest credit card and you pay that off. And then you take the amount that you were paying to your smallest amount and then you add it to your next smallest amount and you put that towards that one. And then you just one card at a time, you get out of debt. I combine that with one credit card for all of your expenses that you use each month, but you have to be able to pay it in full. And so that requires like an investigative look at your budgeting and saying, this is what I spend each month on food. This is what I spend on gas, booze, and you got to really tell on yourself. You got to be honest. And then the third part of it, and there's more that's really in depth, but again, like this is more about the relationship to money. But the third part of it is really about anytime you get extra money, you put it towards debt, but not all of it. Because I think what's really important is that you don't get into a depraved, like feeling like, oh my God, I'm on an austerity budget, I can't breathe. Because nothing sends you into the fuck you slide faster than feeling like you never can have anything nice. So I always use a rule of thumb of like, if like Jeff's overtime comes in, what you need to do is if you want to be a superstar, 75% goes to your debt. 25% go out and buy yourself something pretty. If you've had a really hard time and you're just like, I just want to do something extra, 50%. But the point is that anytime any extra money comes in, you are sending half of it towards your debt. And that is the key, to getting out of debt. That and slowly picking off the credit cards. If you can consolidate to one card, I encourage that, like one of those no interest ones, but only if you cut up and stop using the other cards. Like you can't keep doing the credit card roulette like that. You can't do that.
Yeah.
But you did so much with that.
Yeah, no, initially it was really good. I mean, I was scared because we just kept putting everything on that one card. And I was like, oh my God, I just kept watching it every day, like go up, 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 up. I'm like, how are we going to pay this off? And it took a couple of months for it to balance out. And then,
because you were used to being like, groceries go on this card. I go to Target on this card. And that makes the balance look less. But when you tally up all that you're spending, it doesn't matter if it's on 5 cards or 1. That's how much you're spending. And you shouldn't spend more than than comes in for your checks.
That was the hardest part. You kept saying, yeah, you just put everything in one card. I'm like, everything? Like,
you were so resistant to that.
Remember when I told you that every single paycheck I pay something and you were like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, yeah, when this paycheck comes in, I pay this. When this paycheck comes in, I pay this.
And I was like,
and you were
stop
like,
that.
You said you need to make 2 payments a month. That was a very big change for me. I just like trusted those. Like I jumped out of an airplane. I'm like, okay, I could do this. I think I could do this.
But give yourself a win, though. You prepaid for how many of those 3 trips before you went on the trips?
Well, remember the Nashville one, I had to put on that no interest credit card.
Yes, I do remember that
to pay off the whole year, because that was so big. So that one I still have $1,500 to pay off of. But the Canada trip is paid for. That one's done.
Producer Steph just gave them woohoo.
And I actually paid our beach vacation off like 2 months ago.
This is what I'm saying.
But that
you haven't even gone yet.
That was like on a 4 payment plan.
But you are so quick to say that you're not succeeding. 2 of your 3 trips you paid off in advance. And this is what I'm saying. It is critical that you celebrate your wins. I talked about it with you. I was like, it is going to take you, I said, a year to 18 months to get out of debt. And then we can start adding in a savings plan. Because then all of that money you were paying to credit card debt, now we can give you a little more in your monthly spend, but 75% goes into savings or 50%, whatever you like, all that can come. But you've got to celebrate the wins along the way because it's hard work to get out of debt.
Yeah.
I don't hear celebration in your voice, Bean. I don't hear it. I don't hear it. This is what I heard. Yeah.
Right now, I still feel like I'm a little bit of a setback. And it's not anything awful. It's just I'm not where I want to be. And I want to get there.
It's not a linear, like every day I'm a little bit better. Like you're going to have setbacks and then you're going to start again. And then some expense is going to come out of nowhere and you're going to be like, fuck, I got to figure that out. Or, that happens. Like, I think it's a mistake to think it's all just going to be clear and smooth once you figure out a new way to look at money.
I made some other, like, I don't know if these are dumb mistakes, but like we didn't save money for our kids for college. Not, we saved some money, but not enough. And like after they got through the really expensive first couple years, we did financial aid and we did some private loans. But then it was like the tuition bill would come in and it'd be like $3,000 or $3,500 for the semester. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this to my kid. I don't want him to have to pay this on a loan later. It's only $3,500. Jeff, that's only a couple of
Jeff.
overtime jobs for him. So then I'd like set up a payment plan for us to pay this off over like 5 months.
Yeah.
And that would kill us because I'm not good at this whole budget thing anyway. And now I just added an extra $500 a month because I felt sorry for my kid of what's going to happen to him in the future. It's like we did a lot of weird stuff like that.
Well, and then 5 months later, then the next tuition bill's due. And then your second kid ends up in college. And then it's like, it is just like a nonstop like rain just pounding you, and it's relentless.
Yeah. I just thought I was doing things the way everybody did it, just kind of live paycheck to paycheck. And some people were better at saving than others. And yeah.
At one point you were talking about your habits around paying things off and you were like, I know on Tuesday this comes in and so I pay it with this. And then on Wednesday this comes in and I pay this. And to me, that says that you're a very organized person. Would you say that's true?
Yes. Yeah. No, you should see. Every Saturday morning I sit down and I look at all my finances and all I always have.
That's what I think so funny is you spend so much time looking at your finances and it's all so fucked up. Like, I think that's hilarious.
It's a lot less now than I used to be honest, because sometimes I'll look at it and I'm like, oh, okay. like nothing to do here. So it's different. But no, yeah, I am really organized. But can I share like an unorganized story that happened this week? So I was using this one venture card, which Robin and I agreed was the best card to use. And gives me like all this cash back. But then this friend of mine's like, oh, you have the venture card? She's like, so do I. I get tons of miles for that. And I'm like, I don't get any miles. And I'm like looking at all the benefits, no miles. And so then I realized I don't have the mileage one and I want to go to Ireland next year with my mom. So I'm like, well, this could be a way that I could go on this trip and it's almost like a savings plan. So I switched to this new venture card. But like I had just done all that work to put everything on the one card. So now I just put everything on the new card. So this week my venture card was due, but
I know.
See,
I'm like, what's going to happen here?
I wasn't getting paid until yesterday, and I wanted to pay more on the card. So I put a reminder in my calendar to pay it like after 5 so they wouldn't take it out of my checking account. So I don't know. I got this new iWatch. It keeps turning off my notifications. I don't know what happened. I'm brushing my teeth and it's like 9:15 and I'm like, oh my God, I'm supposed to pay off my Capital One card. I go sprinting downstairs.
Oh,
I missed it by an hour. I had to pay it by 8 p.m. And for some reason, I didn't set up the automatic auto pay in case you don't pay it. So now I have a late charge and I have interest charges on this brand new card. I was like dropping F-bombs here and there. So yeah, that was a bad thing that happened this week. But I set up the auto pay right away. And I just said to myself, you know what? It is what it is. You gotta move on, girl.
yeah. And you set up the auto pay, and getting this card was a good thing because you're using it as a savings plan toward a trip in the future. So you got to pull the good out of one bad thing. And $40, for God's sakes, we dropped $40 on 2 cocktails. That's your late fee. You're fine. You'll deal with that. You move on from it. But it's impressive. You remembered. You just always got to pull the good things out.
I don't know if this is off limits, so feel free to push back. But you have children.
Yeah.
Do you talk to them about money? Do they have jobs? Like, what's their vibe?
Oh yeah, I am trying so hard for them not to be me. So like I actually taught my oldest son everything Robin taught me. And then I have a son in college who reminds me exactly of myself. You know, he's just kind of living paycheck to paycheck. Like, Mom, can you give me $40 for groceries? You know, like, and I'm like, sure, I'll just take it out of my no money. Just take it out of my pile of no money.
So tell me where you are now. How are you feeling about it all now?
I'm definitely feeling more aware
That's huge.
of everything. That's the biggest part for me. And I have also made my husband a lot more aware of things. So he's aware too. But it's like I can't tell myself I'm doing good with it.
I feel like that's some of your biggest work, is because it's like, if you can't see what's really happening, like without your emotions that you're bringing to it or your past, then what you're going to do in relation to it is going to be skewed. Do you know what I mean by that? Like if you're looking at it skewed, like you can't see the successes, then you are much more likely to buy something you shouldn't, fall off the wagon, and then it's a really slippery slope to being right back where you were.
Yeah. I have to like realistically in my head say, look at what this year has been and continues to be, and give yourself a break. And, you know, I just have to, like you said, I haven't done it. You told me to like write down the good things that have happened.
Why have you not done that?
I don't know. We'll have to do it together.
Yes, we'll set a deadline. Deadlines help because you know that you're supposed to do it, and even if you don't make that deadline, you're in the space. It moves you in the space. And I just want to say too, like we've both had kids, and the nurse practitioner said to me, it was 9 months in, it's going to be 9 months out. Like you didn't get into this financial situation in 6 months. You're not getting out of it in 6 months. And I don't know why you would think that you would. I do know why, because it's what you want. And I get that. But you've got to be kind to yourself, and you have to, you just have to be patient, and you have to do all of the work on your relationship to money. That is that awareness to me, hearing you say that, I'm like more proud of you for that than even paying those 2 trips in advance. Because that's what helps you make a different choice next time.
Like the part of this that's mind blowing to me is that like you are doing so much work to be in debt.
Yeah.
Like the things that you were doing before, to me, I'm like, oh my God, like you had to think every day about like what you had to pay off and why. And you're like organizing and moving things to different accounts. And like, I could never do that. Like that to me takes way more work than like paying off one credit card, you know? And I think there's like a misconception that like people that are in debt or whatever self like described not good at money are like somehow like messy people, just kind of like chaotic energy or whatever, and just like not paying attention. But like that's wicked not the case. So there's obviously like, as Robin said, something deeper happening.
Yeah.
Because like you obviously are like a boss human. Like you have a good job, you show up for it. You obviously are a good mom, you show up for your kids. You're obviously like doing all the things.
Yeah, and that's what I said to her. I said, you're going to be amazed at how much less work this is when you get this. The 1st and the 15th, you're going to do some payments, and it should take about 15, 20 minutes. That's it.
Yep.
And you don't have to think about it if it's not the 1st or the 15th because it's all happening.
I think where the rub is I'm not doing enough to spend smartly, to put some guardrails on my spending. I'm not doing enough there. And then when the surprise thing comes in, I'm like, fuck. Now what do we do?
So that's an area of growth, but it's not a bad thing. It's not a horrible thing. There's no but. Like it just, that's your next area of growth, is to just take a deeper dive looking at your spending and what you could cut.
A rule I have is I'm never allowed to buy something when I'm already going to the checkout.
Oh, that's
so
good.
You're at Target and you're like, I got everything. And then you start walking to the checkout. Like those stores are fucking designed so that you buy all the little shitty knickknacks while you're waiting in line. You're like, I could eat some popcorn right now. And then maybe I'll read this magazine while I'm waiting, and then like buy this weird lamp for my friend Susan, who I'm going to see next week. Like you don't need that shit.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, we did just get rid of our cable.
All right.
We're saving $180 a month.
Okay, you know what I'm going to say to you. You're going to keep 40 or 50 of that a month in your checking, and that other 140 is going to go toward debt or toward savings or towards, half is to debt and half is for that next vacation that you have to pay off.
Maybe I should just start writing down every time I say no to buying something.
Yes, that's a great idea.
That's what I should do.
Or acknowledge it in some way. That's a great idea. And, you and I are similar in that we both are always thinking forward of what the thing is we want. And the thing that I probably will be fighting this for the very rest of my life is to be in the moment. And if you cannot be thinking forward and you can be in the moment of how you're doing, that's where you're going to see your wins. Because they're not happening out there. They're happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I see them. I see you. You, my friend, I want to say this to you. I want to say I'm so grateful that you shared this and you shared it at a level of detail. And I think it's so important that you did it because you are the face of many, 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 many people who are in debt right now and who think it's too late and they can't start again. And so I'm so thankful that you came and you shared your story. And I just want you to go and be kind to yourself, look for areas of growth and look for your wins and consistently write them down. And if you have one journal like this, I'm holding up a notepad, and you just keep adding to it, imagine when you're able to flip the page. And then when you're having a low day, you could pick that up and you can read it. And you could see, look at all the things I have done.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm super proud of you as your friend. And as a host, I'm so thankful that you came and you shared all this with us.
It's been my pleasure.
I feel like right now, though, you should write down, like, I haven't gotten into my investments in 9 months. Like, that's a win. And you should write that down now.
And you should write down, I paid for 2 of the 3 trips in advance. Write those 2 things down.
Okay.
I want 10 things written down in 2 weeks. That's reasonable. That's reasonable.
I love when Robin gives homework at the end of these.
And by the way, you just went out to dinner with your friend and you wanted to get the miles. Okay, I approve that. So you drop your credit card down and your friend Venmo'd you for their half of the bill. Now comes the tip. Cash out that Venmo balance. Don't leave it in there and use it for cabs or deli runs or whatever shenanigans you're up to. Transfer the money straight to your bank. Then make a payment to your credit card for your pal's half of the check. Otherwise, all those split bills will leave you with that end of the month, wait, why is my credit card bill so high moment? Hey folks, it's that time where we get a little advice from our expert of the day. Elise is smart and funny and she knows all the things about all the money. You're going to want to listen to this.
You have to make your money work harder for you. So all these credit cards give you points and such. I've booked trips using all my points. That's an extra. So that part is great to me. You know, if you look at the points guy and all of these other, you use cash, you're not getting any credit for it. Some people like cash. They like the anonymity of it all. They pay and they know exactly what they're spending. They don't get into credit card debt that way. If you're an undisciplined person, go with cash. You'll never get into credit card debt. You know, some people do these things where you put the change into anything you can move. I don't like to have a lot of my money accessible to me. It makes it too easy. I'm a spender. I want to charge everything. I don't want to carry cash with me. I'll lose it, spend it, lose it, spend it. Makes it too easy. So sometimes people do need it in a savings account where you can't take it off. You can't use it a cash machine. I like doing monthly money and investments. Like if you want to open a mutual fund, I like the money taken out right away. $100 every month into Vanguard or whatever it is you're investing in. $100 into your savings account. You know, if you have anything, if your job has a TDA or anything, tax deferred annuity, invest, especially if you get a raise. If you get a raise and you're already living off of what you live, that's gravy. That goes in the savings bucket because you get used to whatever you make. You make more, you get used to it. So at some point you have to say, that's the extra. That's the vacation fund. That's whatever it is that you want.
I mean, she said it, didn't she? She said it all, and I think we should all be listening. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I think that's probably enough for today, don't you think? But before we go, I do have to say so many thanks to Aileen for really opening up and sharing her money journey. And of course, thank you to Elise for all her knowledge that is going to help each of us just be a little bit more sorted when it comes to our finances. For more Robin, and you may need that, you probably don't need it, but like if you do, you can follow me at Real Rob Hops on all the platforms, all the socials, as the kids today say. I'm going to see you next week, folks. Till then, just, I don't know, make smart choices, have some fun, but not too much fun. You know what I'm saying. Be good. See you soon. Well Adjusting is an Edit Audio original, exec produced by Steph Colburn and Robin Hopkins. Thank you to Maria Passingham, Kathleen Speckert, and the whole Edit Audio team. Oh, hey, before you take out those AirPods, this show is just for entertainment. If you are in need of help, please, please, please reach out to a professional. Go ahead and get that help. You deserve it.
Okay, here's how Miro works. See, it's amazing.
What's everyone doing at David's desk?
Ever since marketing started using Miro's collaborative online whiteboard, he thinks all our other teams should sign up.
Why?
He says Miro's making his meetings disappear. And if every team gets on it, that means even less meetings. They're using Miro for brainstorms, mind maps, customer research.
So could we use Miro instead of having another 100 meetings for every round of feedback?
Yep. You can comment, react to ideas, even leave a recording on the board.
And what about presentations?
There are Miro templates for that.
How do you know so much about Miro?
I've actually been using it all along. I just used a Miro board to plan the best vacation.
Okay, I'm on board.
See how Miro users save up to 80 hours every year by meeting less and doing more. Get on board at Miro.com with 3 boards free forever. That's MIRO.com.